I finally left my boyfriend after he used me for money and expected me to raise his daughter like she was mine. So here's the deal, my boyfriend Ben, who's 42 and I'm 37, has been acting a little strange lately with some of the stuff he's been asking me to do. It's like he's expecting me to change my plans for my family, which is not happening. The past few years have been pretty good for me, but this year has been fantastic. I finally got to cut back on my crazy work schedule because I landed 3 big accounts, which are helping me hit some financial goals. I'm planning to buy a house for my family, so I downsized and rented a place after my kids went to stay with my parents for a semester while I finished up my certification and graduated from my university program. My new place isn't all shiny and fancy, but hey, it's affordable and close to both work and uni. I barely have to drive, saving a ton on gas, and I'm putting those savings away for my kids. Ben, on the other hand, hates the place. It's clean and safe, but the area is a mix of student housing and older families, so it can get busy with traffic during the day. Some houses are pretty, others not so much, but I really don't mind as long as it's decent inside. I had other options. One place was cheaper with a community pool and an extra bedroom, which I didn't need. Another was farther away but nicer, and closer to Ben's kids' school. Ben kind of hinted he wanted that place, but he'd need to pitch in for it, and moving in together is a big step. I need to concentrate on my career and studies right now. He said he got it, but clearly, he wasn't thrilled. He even mentioned his daughter being bummed because she wanted somewhere nice to hang out. Ben lives in a no-fuss apartment, so his comments felt weird. Later, he started throwing out ideas, like wanting to go into business together, which I said no to because I'm already funding my own venture and don't know his industry. Then he noticed I had some nice things and joked about me being loaded. He even said his daughter would make a great protege. I just kept quiet because it was awkward. There's no way I'd let anyone but my kids into what I've worked for. He also said I should treat his daughter special because I have boys, and she could be like the daughter I never had. Don't get me wrong, she's a sweet kid, and I always get her thoughtful gifts for birthdays and holidays, but his comments were unsettling. Felt like some reverse sexism, to be honest. I told him I have a good relationship with her, but I'm not about to give her access to my finances as if she were my own. It felt off when he kept suggesting I give her what should be my kids. For instance, I once gave her a weekend cleaning job when our office cleaning lady was out. She did great, so I paid her and even took her to the mall for some makeup she wanted. She came back the next weekend, and Ben made this remark about her moving up the ranks like in a family business. I didn't say anything in front of her, but later I talked to him about it. Although I tried to be gentle, it was crucial to chat about expectations. He seemed nervous or embarrassed, which I wasn't expecting. Then he made a joke about me possibly putting her in my will, laughing it off, but it felt like he was testing the waters. I just stayed silent because that's just beyond what I'm comfortable with. So, I told him straight up that I care about his daughter, but it's just not fair for him to expect certain things from me. I've been working my butt off for over 10 years to give my kids a better future, and it feels kinda disrespectful for him to only see where I am now and not everything I've been through. I also mentioned how he was trying to change my plans and budget for a new place, knowing full well that moving in together isn't even on the table, and he just went quiet when I said he'd need to chip in for the least difference. I made it clear I'm not about to make unnecessary sacrifices, and then he stormed off out of my car. I started driving slowly next to him to get him back inside because I'm not into dramatic scenes. He looked all sad, like a kicked puppy. After dropping him off, he texted me all these things about me not understanding what a blended family is, thinking I'm treating his daughter as less, and basically calling me a hypocrite and a bully. It really messed with my peace of mind because I feel like I'm just trying to protect what I've built, and having to defend myself to my partner feels so wrong. We talked it out, apologized to each other, and agreed to find some middle ground. But then he brought up starting a business for his daughter and wanted my help again. I was like, no way, because I've done my fair share of hard work for my own goals, and what he's asking isn't fair. I don't want to mix business with personal stuff, especially with my network and contacts involved. Plus, I worry he'll just keep asking for more. He said if I didn't help, we'd never build anything together, so I suggested hiring a consultant, but he just went silent. He told me I'm blinded by my success and warned I might end up single and lonely if I don't change. I asked if that was a threat, and he said I'm not being a supportive partner. I asked for a break, and he freaked out. Honestly, I'm just trying to keep my mental health in check with all his constant pushing. It's made me pretty anxious and thinking he just wants a handout. I texted him this morning because I think it's time to break up. He replied, hoping I'm not planning to dump him, claiming that would mean I tricked him into a break. He posted about his mental health today too. For everyone judging me for letting my kids stay with my parents this semester, let me explain. I took up a great opportunity to finish my education for their future benefit. It doesn't mean I'm absent or don't spend time with them. To those offering advice, thank you. For those who disagree, I'm doing what I can to secure a better life for my kids. Update: we officially broke up today. It was tough because he kept interrupting and was in denial for half of the conversation. We met at a small restaurant since it's a public place and less likely to cause drama. I tried to be respectful but needed to express my feelings about our situation. He tried to dodge the topic, but I pointed out that my kids come first since I'm their sole provider. When I compared what he wanted for his kid versus what he'd offer mine, he looked at me like I was greedy or something. So, there I was, dealing with Ben, who somehow thought he could step in like some kind of dad replacement. It really set me off, and I had to really try hard not to start yelling. I mean, is he okay with just being there, like a piece of furniture, for his own kid just to get some financial perks? Sure, I wish my kids could have a decent dad, but that's just not happening. Right now, I'm honestly better off without Ben in my life. I was super mad, and he kept telling me to calm down, which only made things worse. He said he'd leave his dad for some life advice because apparently only he could give it since his mom is too secular, whatever that means. I didn't even ask for this. I told him we needed to break up, and he got all upset and stormed off. I thought he'd left, but he just went to the restroom and came back. I told him I couldn't share my life with someone acting like a gold digger. Even if I could get over this, I'd never consider getting back together because his intentions seem so entitled and dishonest. I'm just relieved we weren't alone when all this went down. He has high blood pressure, for real, I've seen the meds, and I've sometimes wondered if he has some mental health stuff going on because he can go from 0 to 100 over things that don't even make sense. He apologized, said he was sorry for offending me, and felt tricked and betrayed. He thinks breaks are for reflection, not ending things, and mentioned how my actions would affect his daughter, who really likes me. I suggested a final call with her if he agreed, but he shot that down, saying I shouldn't say anything to her. He accused me of being caught up in my new mainstream life, like, what even is that supposed to mean? It's ridiculous given how hard I've worked for my financial stability after some tough times. Then he told me to do something really vulgar but quickly apologized. I told him I wasn't shocked by his behavior since it showed he thinks sex fixes everything. I also let him know that being gross and vulgar only confirms that some guys are just not worth it. I realized I learned a big lesson: never date someone who's not financially stable again. I want to say I left him sitting alone, but he left first. When I was getting my stuff to pay for my meal, he grabbed his backpack and left in a hurry. I've blocked him everywhere, even changed my locks, though he never had a key or stayed over, just being cautious. He called our mutual friend to vent, claiming I mistreated him, but she was upset with him and wanted my side of the story. We talked, and she couldn't blame me. Our friend group noticed the imbalance in our relationship and how he inserted himself into conversations about business and success without having done anything in the 16 years she's known him. That's my update. I also blocked him on social media. Next story: I took care of my late husband's kids for 5 years during his struggle with drug addiction. Now, after his passing, their mom, who's in jail, wants me to adopt them, but his parents are trying to stop me. It's a long story, but I really need to share because I'm feeling so overwhelmed. My husband died a week before Thanksgiving. We were sort of separated at the time, not living together. I still loved him, but I had to distance myself because of his addiction, hoping it would push him to seek treatment. He was trying to get better, but sadly, it wasn't enough and he overdosed. He had drug issues when he was younger, during college, but he cleaned up and stayed that way for years. Back then, he had a girlfriend who also got into drugs, and they had 2 kids. Eventually, he got his life back on track, found a good job, and was even granted custody of their kids. I've known him since elementary and middle school, but we lost touch in high school. We reconnected after his first round of addiction and recovery. By then, he'd been clean for a few years. His kids were 5 and 3 when we met, and now they're 10 and 8. Their mom had only supervised visits. I don't have any biological kids, and losing him has crushed me. It's hard to accept, and my heart especially breaks for his kids, who haven't had an easy life. Over the past year or so, while he was dealing with his issues, I've stayed in the loop with his family even while we were apart and not living together. He moved back in with his parents and took his daughters with him, but I was there a lot, staying involved in all aspects of their lives. I never officially called myself their mom, but let's be real, I was doing all the mom stuff. Recently, their biological mom got arrested for something related to burglary and ended up in prison. This was after he passed away. I had really thought she was doing better, She was at his memorial and seemed more put together than she had in a long time. Out of the blue, she wrote me this super emotional letter, asking me to adopt her daughters. She basically admitted that she doesn't know if she'll ever kick her addiction and doesn't want the girls to end up with relatives from either side. She wanted them to stay with me because it's familiar to them, and she thinks they're safe here. The girls even told her they wanted to come live with me, calling my house their home. I wasn't expecting that at all, especially since she hadn't been a fan of mine before. She's been talking for years about getting clean for her girls and regaining custody. She had some good patches, but it never really stuck. I feel like the worst person ever for not immediately saying yes. I love those girls. I've lived with them as their pseudo-mom for a long time and worried about them every single day. Yet here I am, wondering if this is something I really want to do. Plus, I'm not even sure if it's possible or what kind of battle it would be. I don't think his parents would agree easily. They're big on family, and they're absolutely devastated by their son's death. I can't imagine they'd let the girls go without a fight. I can't shake the thought of what kind of lifelong chaos I might be stepping into if I go down this road. Dealing with both sides of the girls' extended family, their trauma, everything, it's overwhelming, and I'm not sure I'm strong enough to handle it all, which makes me feel pretty horrible. Update, March 30th, 2025. My husband died from a drug overdose in November 2024. He had issues with drugs in his late teens and early 20s but got clean for many years. He had full custody of his daughters, now 8 and 10, but he relapsed sometime in 2024. We were separated and living apart when he passed. I had hoped he'd get better so we could be together again. The girl's mom is also struggling with addiction and has been arrested multiple times. She was at his memorial and looked better than usual, but she was arrested soon after. She's still in jail. When she first went back to jail, she sent me a letter, asking me to adopt her daughters. They'd been living with my husband's parents but kept asking when they could go home, referring to my place as their home. I was basically their mom, doing all the mom stuff without the official title, and they had limited contact with their real mom. I posted about all of this 3 months ago. Since then, I've decided to go for custody. It was a massive decision, and while I took my time thinking about it, I couldn't take too long. What pushed me over the edge was my former in-laws saying the girls shouldn't go to therapy to cope with their dad's death and their mom's absence. It was shocking because who wouldn't think these girls need all the help they can get? But at the same time, it wasn't a surprise coming from them. They ignored their son's problems too and were the biggest enablers I'd ever met. They're all about appearances and achievements, like sports and competitions. I believe they mean well, but that doesn't change how their actions affected their son, their other children, or their grandkids. I never thought I'd be teaming up with my husband's ex-girlfriend, but here we are. This isn't easy for her. No, she hasn't been a present or good mom, but I know she wishes she was, and it's hard for her to admit she can't be. So, even though their mom has her fair share of issues and is known for being pretty self-centered, I really can't wrap my head around what it takes to give up custody of your kids. It's a big deal, and I'm genuinely happy she's stepping up and thinking about what's best for them now. It's a bit of a bummer though, because even with her parental rights in place, she can't just let them be adopted by someone she trusts. I get that they've got to make sure the kids end up in a safe place and all, but I'm totally down to go through any evaluations necessary to show I can give them a stable home. You'd think it would be as simple as her giving up her rights and saying she wants me to adopt them, but boy, is it complicated. His parents are super competitive and have already tried to mess things up in court. They're trying to throw a wrench in the plans by making it so if her rights are terminated, they get first dibs to adopt the girls. They're dragging me through the mud, trying to paint me as unfit to parent. Sure, I'm single, but they're in their 60s, and while the girls love them, they don't want to live with them all the time. The girls have been living with me and their dad for ages, and this place is home. I'm not rich, but I manage just fine. I just don't have the funds to go all in if they decide to turn this into a long legal battle. It's so frustrating because it feels like they just want to win. They're really into family and preserving their family name, but I've never said I wanted to cut them out of the girls' lives. I even told them we should all be in the kids' lives, regardless of any differences. The girls love their grandparents and their aunts, who, by the way, haven't shown any interest in custody. I think these girls need all the love and care they can get, from both sides of their family, even if I have to grin and bear it sometimes for their sake. It's just so frustrating, and not something a lot of people can relate to. I'm lucky to have friends who support me, even if they think I'm a bit crazy for getting into all this. It's just that there's not much advice anyone can offer from experience.